guys, what's up? Man, I woke up all thirsty and shit. Mm, sorry, guys. I meant to come back like at 4 or something like that. No, I ended up taking a nap. I needed that actually. But I'm back. And yeah, we're going to take a look at a few clips, man. There has been an increase in UFO sightings, you guys. Amazingly. But yeah, I woke up all thirsty. Hold that thought a sec. Hold that thought. Sorry, I had to get a shot of that. Get a shot of juice there. All right, let me start with this first one here. Give me a sec. Let me grab the right clip. So there has been an increase in UFO activity in the Ukraine, which is somewhat interesting, being the fact that it seems like in places where war takes place, there is these very strange UFO sightings, right? On top of that, there also, remember we talked about Fukushima labs or Fukushima, Japan, where that nuclear facility. Hey, what's up, Diamond? Good to see you. That facility in Fukushima has also been showing, well, there's been like an increase in UFO activity there as well. But again, if you look back at history, there seems to be this really strange uptick when, well, when there's nuclear power involved. So give me a second. Let me take this banner down really quick. Let me show you guys this latest one that people are talking about, right?
Beautiful. It's perfect, in my opinion. The in and out.
Hold on. Gotta love it. Aliens under a magnifying glass. I think this was third phase of Moon's video, just from the voices, though. There.
So there's a pause picture right there. So you could get a closer look. Incredible footage right now, and it's having me second guess this, if this is CGI or if this is too good to be true. But as I keep looking at it closer and closer, it seems legitimate. I like where this craft just hovers ever so graceful in the sky, steady as it is, and the cameraman tilts, and the parallax is just beautiful. It's perfect, in my opinion. The in and out, everything seems to match up really well here. Brent, what's your thoughts? Yeah, this is a pretty badass video. We pulled this up today. A friend just sent this in, and we're like, what the heck's going on? Again, look at this close-up right here. This looks like what people say would emulate the Bob Lazar sports model, as he dubbed. This seems
pretty nuts, actually. Does it look like CGI to you guys? It doesn't to me. Just because everything, I mean, you know, it's not exactly perfect. Now, there's been a question going around about why there's so much fuzziness around these so-called UFOs, right? Why you can't ever really discern a shape, so to speak. And remember that man walking with the tall whites, what he said about that. He was talking about how the way that it's this thing is powered, the electromagnetic force around it, it really, there's just so much power going on that they even have to power these things down like a few miles from like their destination, right? But it somehow, that is some weird looking shit. Let me tell you, isn't that weird looking? Sorry, that just really got me there. Um, but yeah, there's just so much power going into these things, right? But there's one more um video. Give me a second here.
I want to share with everyone my experience with the UFO. These are a couple still pictures of what I got and the information that I'm going to explain to you in this video. Take a look at these still images until we get into the video where I'm going to explain what I saw and what I got. And at the end, you can see the original video. But let's start with this. Guys, I slowed this down the slowest I could slow it down. So this is not the original speed.
Dimus
I slowed it down super slow so you can understand what you're seeing. There goes the first image. As you're seeing these different dots looking images on screen, different colors that appear. Another one just appeared just a second ago. These images are appearing. This is what I saw live in my backyard as I was recording. And there was someone else there with me also, and I'm going to play the original footage. There goes a red dirt dot on the top left corner that just passed. So this is the slowest I can show you the video so that you can see the images that pop up on screen clearly, because the images were moving so fast that I had to slow it down the most I can for the images to be clear. Those are the images you're seeing on screen that are changing different colors. As you can see,
makes sense. We've seen that before.
These different images.
We always want a clear video,
red
right?
And green and white and gray coloring are appearing on screen. And this is a slow video of the original video that I got because I wanted it to be clear. For the person to see
one of
it
those
with the average eye, we need to slow it down very, very much so that you're able to see what you're seeing now on
one
screen.
Of those jellyfish they released in space, and it just somehow made its way back into the atmosphere.
I'll give you a second so you can focus on the images popping up on screen. I thought this was amazing and that I had to share it with the people. It was an amazing encounter. And we also have more images for you. And we have reruns of the video as well. And
yeah, diving. Yeah.
Guys, what I seen was epic. And this object
I think
was
disclosure
so
is already happening.
And making maneuvers that I never seen. Never seen maneuvers like this. No man-made aircraft can make these sudden maneuvers at this speed.
And then, of course,
with changing light.
It's kind of funny to me, you know, everybody talks about all these maneuvers and things like that, but you know, that's mostly a pilot's type of thing, right? Or pilots talk about how these things, you know, maneuver themselves or whatnot, but who, you know, who knows? But give me just a sec because there is one. Speaking of the light, though, orbs of light, there is actually a documentary. You can find it on Amazon Prime called Beings of Light. And all you have to do is just, get to that one portion of the video clip, right? Where there's a woman who says consistently in the past, like several decades, there's these orbs of light that just appear in her area, right? In her yard, basically. And while they were there filming, unbelievably, while they were there filming, these orbs just showed up. So that was kind of interesting, to say the least. All right, so these I don't know what y'all are gonna say about these, okay, but there are these capsules, and I was gonna, talk about this the other day. Didn't get an opportunity to really talk about it. But I did put it on the thumbnail though, right? And all I can say is I'll leave it up to you. um, but it looks like, okay, there's a capsule coming out of the sky with something in it. Okay. Just some strange stuff is all I can say, but interesting nonetheless.
The Big Island captured by the Subaru telescope. Watch this.
That's actually quite amazing. And what if that is some sort of craft in the sky made from that special material where you can't actually see the entire craft?
So let's pull it up. About 100%, get a closer look at whatever this swirling anomaly is in the sky. But now we have some updates. What happened over Hawaii is basically a decaying SpaceX rocket that created a unique night spiral.
Ah,
The Subaru
interesting.
telescope recorded the video. The flying whirlpool, as it's dubbed, over the Mauna Kea on Sunday, hours after the California-based Falcon 9 rocket successfully launched a spy satellite for the U.S. National Reconnaissance Office into orbit. So what we're looking at isn't extraterrestrial. It's something that is ours. And it's coming in from the Falcon 9 rocket that was launched from California, but captured by the cameras over there on the top of the mountain, the Mauna Kea. So this is pretty incredible, but people are still suggesting that this video is like some kind of portal. Yeah, it's pretty incredible just to look at this on the Big Island of Hawaii, having this rocket launch from so far away, and we're able to see this in pretty crystal clarity right here. This spiral cruising from left to right. It's an astonishing sight. If people were on the ground looking at this, they would be stunned. Again, to see this event in real time over the Mauna Kea on the Big Island of Hawaii is extraordinary. Absolutely, Brent. It is quite astonishing, especially that this was coming in from SpaceX over there in California, but made its landing over here in Hawaii, captured by the Subaru telescope as this Falcon 9 descended down into the Pacific Ocean on a landing platform floating out there. Incredible technology captured by cameras on the Mauna Kea. But what's crazy is that people are still putting this out there as some kind of portal or extraterrestrial event. We're glad we could clear the record on this and point out what's really going on. But we also have phenomenon that we can't explain, as this next video, as we're about to share with you, We have no idea what it is. Take a look at this mysterious glowing light. So we're going to zoom it up 70%, get a closer look. Is there an object above the cloud layer revealing itself through its luminous light? It doesn't seem to be a spotlight, in my opinion. It seems whatever this is, where the light is coming from, is above the cloud layer shooting down. And if this is the case, it's quite interesting, because as we look at this original video right here, raw, we're looking at it once again, it seems to be coming behind the tree line there, indicating that whatever it is coming from in the sky, not from the ground. Otherwise, you would have saw a spotlight on the trees. And then again, the diameter of this craft is quite large. I'm guessing probably maybe 40 to 60 feet in diameter. Brent, I want to get your thoughts here.
Yeah, again, another unique capture right here. You can see the tree line and this luminescent object just highlighting in the clouds, kind of hiding itself. We don't see a craft. That's the interesting part here. We don't see a structure. We're just seeing illuminated light highlighting the clouds around it. This is very unique. I like the way the security camera really captured the whole event. And now we got a good close-up looking at this anomaly. It doesn't look like your typical helicopter with searchlights. We'd get these videos on a daily basis looking like this all the time. This is unique, something special going on here.
Absolutely. I'm, again, trying to wrap my head around this. Is this some kind of natural phenomenon? Maybe some kind of atmospheric static charge in the sky? Or is this something otherworldly? Look, it has this plasmic aura around it. And again, Brent, we're not seeing any craft, as you stated. But in my opinion, this light is coming from above the cloud layer. Otherwise, you would see the spotlight on the trees. Again, one more time as we watch it and slow it down, get a little closer look. Let's see if this wraps behind the trees. And it's hard to tell. Again, a phenomenon. It's definitely behind the roof line. We've got even more footage captured on NBC News. We're watching it right now. Apparently, there was this mission to save lives in the ravaged Navajo Nation, but what was captured in the background during this report is astonishing. Watch.
Wow, look at that. That's nuts.
For a few seconds, but
you know, they say UFOs be around like Indian reservations and stuff like that quite a lot, actually.
For only a few frames on national television via NBC News.
Unbelievable,
again,
right?
We're looking at it very close. We're not seeing any kind of tail or wings on this. It's hard to say.
That's crazy.
But again, people are talking about this in the major media right now and on social online chat rooms. But Brett, what's your thoughts on this? Is this a Tic Tac or simply just maybe an airplane?
There is one particular one I want to get to. Hold that
their
thought.
Information.
There we go. There is these capsules, y'all.
All right, let's blow this up about 400%. Again, Richard's doing some enhancements.
What if something,
as we're looking at it, what is this?
It's just dropping things to Earth.
It seems metallic, but what's crazy is you can hear the wind. It's
for them to later be activated,
the treetops
right?
are moving from left to right, but this thing seems to be descending down into the woods in the middle of nowhere. What's it doing out there? Brent, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a good video. Thanks, Rich, for having this sent to us. This is unique. We're looking at something over the treetops. It's quite far away, so we're not getting the best look at what this is. You know, it could be a balloon, but this
that looks like the Pacific Northwest,
roundness that doesn't
or possibly
look like your natural balloon with a tether on it. This looks somewhat
very far
different. This is
northeast.
unique. Again, here's a still.
Ain't nothing like
zoomed at
trees like that,
400%.
man.
Again, we're not getting a whole lot
Air
of
is a lot
quality
cleaner
out
too,
of
let me
this,
tell
but we
you.
do see an object descending down to the ground. I could rule this as a possibly one of ours, a balloon, maybe a drone, something. Maybe
There's
it's one
no
of
telling
ours,
what it
in my
is.
opinion.
Sure, but you never
But
know.
check out
Could it
this
be a Drone Scout?
capsule, though.
Colorado. Watch.
This is really freaking weird. Really weird. So there is a screenshot of this on one of the thumbnails that I did for this particular video. It looks like at some points, this thing is lit up like it's almost like on fire on the inside.
Let's
but
hit this with some stabilization and lock it down so we could get a clear look
this is
at this
wild.
pod, as I call it. It seems to be carrying some kind of almost humanoid within it. You can see a glint, a glare, but at points in this film or this video, as we're looking at it, as we stabilize it in slow motion, people are stating that they see some kind of being sitting within the pod like a cockpit, but we don't see any kind of means of propulsion behind whatever this craft is. But as we zoom up, you can
Like, check that out, man. That's there is a couple of shots of these very strange capsules that have been captured, which it seems to show like this humanoid looking thing inside of it. God only knows what it could be. I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on that makes absolutely no sense to many of us. But back in the day, they used to talk about how there were drone operated spacecraft, that there would actually not be any physical body within some of these spacecraft. And now that it's 2022, that is very much so a reality now, isn't it? We can now literally drop bombs on Baghdad with drones. We are shooting down and killing terrorists with non-operator operated drones that we are sending with missiles on them. Pretty amazing stuff. So is it so far-fetched that, number one, we got that technology from another group of people that may be more advanced than we are, a little bit smarter than we are in this department? I mean, another thing that I think about is, what's his name? I can't think of his name off the top of my head right now, but Walking with the Tall Whites, right? How he described that even back in 1950, was it 52 or 59? I think it was 52, how fiber optics was wired up in some of these crafts. And that's absolutely amazing because fiber optics didn't become a real tangible thing outside of military circles and part of IT circles until the 2000s. Then all of a sudden, we were getting fiber optics, dug into to the data centers. And then all of a sudden you were able to get Verizon Fios at your house and AT&T fiber optics at your house. And really the main difference is that with fiber optics, inside of a fiber optic cable, it's actually glass. So the signal is transferred over pure glass on the inside of those fiber optic cables versus a Cat5 cable where there's a either 7 or 9, small cables that are then color coded. You have to color code it right, put in a, receptor at the end to allow that connection to flow properly, but it is over, several wires that go down the middle of this cable versus glass. That's why it's so important when you're full, when you're messing around with fiber optic cable, that you're not, rolling it up, crushing it, all that sort of a thing. Because if you do, you're crushing the glass inside, and the signal, it's not going to be able to move around, right? So, I mean, you think about that, it's like, wow, man, in the 50s, how did you even know about fiber optic cabling? How did you even write about this in your book all those years ago, before fiber optic cabling became a real thing? Not to even mention or belabor the fact that there's talk about a few different technologies, especially internet-based technologies, that came from these more advanced people. And they literally had, like, built-in Wi-Fi over, within their spacecraft. But more specifically, I think it's important to note, right, with this fiber optic cable, is that they were moving within the craft. They were moving an actual physical element. So there wasn't moving, light as a signal necessarily like we do with internet. And I'm sure that that's something that maybe they've done, but in the case with these spacecraft, it's like they're taking an element and it's moving through this fiber optic cable that moves communications so fast. But the problem is this element decays and is radioactive. And we have, even with moscovium, right? With the element that Bob Lazar named back in the 80s before it was even listed on the periodic table. It also decays, and that decay is radiation. So take that for what it is. But I just, what could these capsules be? And I'm seeing more and more videos with really strange capsule looking things like this. What if it was some really like weird War of the Worlds type, thing where something is sent to Earth. You send 100 of them, you hope at least 5 or 10 make it, and you then activate them at a later time. I don't think it's so far-fetched.
See some kind of, as people are saying,
but there is definitely
alien being as
something
we
in
enhance
there.
It. 1, 2, 3,
what?
4.
Couldn't tell
this
you.
Is interesting. Look at this. This isn't what we're
Gotta
trying
love
to put out
Photoshop,
as legitimate. But again, this is compelling, to say the least.
Very compelling.
Has anybody seen any kind of craft like this pod? And again, as the enhancements were done on Jaime Maussan's team, these images came up of the being within the pod itself. And again, more evidence through the history of the exact same kind of vehicle. Bert, what's your thoughts here?
Yeah, this one's highly unique. We're looking at a casing, a pod, and when we do have close-ups, like
that
again,
isn't back in
this was captured
2006.
in 2006, and now right here's another example of
this.
like-kind craft with Jose Hernandez. This is an animation of what people are seeing. This is not the real deal. This is an example.
There we go. So, yeah,
there it is.
All right. So just want to pause it there, because that's essentially what people are reporting. Sometimes the weirdest things make absolutely no sense at all. Really. But what could they possibly be? I mean, is it possible that these little capsules are some sort of drone devices where these beings are out doing like some kind of reconnaissance or something like that? I mean, but the way they move, they're not moving too fast in the sky there where you would think they would need to be able to maneuver themselves in ways, that very strange, to say the least. But I found this to be very interesting. So keep your eye out. You never know.
The ET and the craft, and then we're going to go to the original here pretty soon. Here's a comparative of something that was captured over a city. This is,
I believe that was in New York City,
these kind of
like a month or two ago.
Exports of extraterrestrials, maybe visiting planet Earth. Here it is, a close up, and now back to the original.
Is it
And
maybe their
look at
new
this. It
version
almost looks
of
like
spacecraft?
a glass dome encased in this pod-like shape. Is there an extraterrestrial inside this? Is a big question.
All I know, Brandon, is I want one of these things. It seems safe. I don't see any propeller blades or any kind of propulsion that could malfunction. This seems like something we could actually fly around in. And if this is what the future might look like in regards to ways of travel and traversing to one place to another, this seems pretty comfortable, because as we're looking at it, it seems like it's a one-man or a one-being kind of system.
They actually do have
Where they
flying
fit
cars.
the
If
whole
you,
family in there. It's not
I mean,
an
they're
SUV,
obviously helicopters
but
of
as we're
different
looking at it
types,
once
but
again, and with this video stabilization,
it does
which is
look like
pretty
something I
impressive,
think
because
that's
the camera
gonna
was pretty shaky, but
take
the
off
object
one
was able
day.
to be
People are
locked
going to
down
be
under the
flying from place to
stabilization, so we could
place.
see very clearly what's
And
going
plus,
on
you
here.
can get one for
This
like
is some
around
kind of craft that
$50,000
I've
now, right?
not seen before. Guys, can you help me out? Have you seen anything like this? If it is some kind of drone or a new kind of, balloon out there. Right now, I haven't seen it. Like you said, Brent, you could see like a glass shield. And as we pause this, and like I said, people are speculating, and again, speculation, but it's pretty undeniable that it looks to be some kind of alien gray with the large head and the large eyes and the spindly arms. It's interesting, but this is actually coming in from imagery from the video.
That's crazy.
This is kind of cool.
Yeah, could this be a little bit of pareidolia, just looking into it a little too deep? But then again, this is kind of convincing.
Like, where have you ever seen anything shaped like that even?
Episode on 60 Minutes showing drone technology and the way of the future of flight, you could clearly see that everything's pulled up by prop propellers. We're not seeing anything propped up here. This does not look like a drone. And again, this 2006 video with comparison of what was just captured recently, and the animation right here of what people are seeing on the ground really showcases what's happening in the skies.
Yeah, I'm liking this animation done by Jose Hernandez, representing of what the eyewitnesses are stating they see with their naked eye. This is pretty good stuff. And the collaboration between Jaime Monson and their group and what's going on over here is pretty amazing, and I'm loving the evidence coming out of the region. And that being said, people have requested Above Top Secret to be available for rental, and that's what happened today. It's not for purchase anymore. You could actually rent it. We wanted to drop the price down so everybody could enjoy it, and we're going to be supplying the link below. Above Top Secret right now is crushing it. Let me tell you, Amazon Prime is putting it on their front page. We've seen numbers that have overridden any expectations of the success of Above Top Secret. So I urge you right now, the time to watch it. It's available for rent. Above Top Secret, Amazon Prime, or all streaming services. The Genius link is below. Thanks for joining us. We've got more UFO sightings coming in as we speak. So we're going to work on that episode, and we'll get to it and share it with you ASAP. Along with my...
Well, Above Top Secret, I mean, everyone's talking about disclosure, and I think disclosure is already happening. I really do. Shout out to Third Phase of Moon, by the way. They have become just as well known as Secure Team, let me tell you. Gotta love some of these locations too.
Welcome back to Third Phase of Moon. Blake Cousins here. We got a special report just into Third Phase of Moon. Yes, we're on the road trip heading to Sholo to meet up with Travis Walton, the famous abductee. We're going to be asking him questions unlike anybody's asked him before, including more updates in regards to Stephen Greer and our new documentary, Above Top Secret, which is blowing up on all streaming platforms right now. But let's get to the first UFO sighting into Third Phase of Moon right now. Guys, take a look at this.
You know, holy shit is definitely the right part for that title. Like, what the hell, right? Imagine.
What the F is this?
Right, driving down the highway,
Third Phase
seeing
Moon's
that.
breaking down what looks to be an incredible display of the phenomenon. A black circle surrounded by a luminescent light. You can see the cars in brake mode. They're looking at it. They can't explain what's going on, and neither can I.
And of course, it's at night. But look right there. I don't know what's going on here, catty corner to it, but there's like two lights that are almost equal distance from each other that are moving around. So I don't know what that means, but again, there's just so much that goes on that just cannot be explained away by scientists. Scientists just do not have the answers for everything. But what I really want to get to is these capsules again. Give me a sec. And I will drop a link to this video for you guys to go check it out.
But let's get to the next UFO sighting just into Third Phase Moon, guys. Watch this. Captured on security cam of some kind of celestial event streaking across the night sky. But what is it? Is this something normal? In my opinion, it just seems to be some kind of rock falling from outer space, but some people might speculate it could be some kind of space debris or maybe a UFO crashing. We're sharing this with you just because we like the capture of this.
Yeah, I would definitely say it has the characteristics of a meteorite coming into our atmosphere. You see the wideness of the light as it gets to a certain layer of the atmosphere. Maybe that's an explosion. But it could also be something coming down crashing, maybe a satellite. There's so many options.
So many options.
But it is an interesting capture.
Yeah, we get these anomalies all the time, captured from around the world, dash cam videos, seeing celestial events hit the night sky. This was an awesome representation of this flying pod, as we called it, a CGI representation of what this craft looked like. The artist really took his own imagination, and it really matches to what we're looking at here.
That's right, Brett. And as we're looking at the original footage, before we get to the artist's representation of what he thinks is captured within this authentic video, people are stating that you could almost see some kind of ET or some kind of spindly little small guy in this pod, as I dubbed it the other night. But look how far it is up in the sky. Doc, before we get to the rendition, what do you make of this?
Well, I actually watched this last night for the very first time live on my show. I was blown away because of the clarity of it and the fact that it was taken so far away. The zoom is amazing, but that you guys were able to take it, stabilize the video so it's easier to view, and you can see the detail in it as you do in this CGI rendition, or excuse me, representation of this object. And I didn't see it at first until I saw the filters, I guess you could say, that enhance the image. And sure as you can believe, there are the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the hand that is raised up. It's, I guess, against the glass, maybe. But this is probably one of my top 5 of all videos that I've seen you guys do. And yeah, if you look at that representation there, the CGI, which is fantastic, if you didn't have the occupant on board, it looks like a futuristic space helmet with a beautiful glass shield. And the fact that it's been seen more than once, as you see in this video, shooting, I think, in South America, these have been around for a long time.
Yeah, you brought up the idea of the witch being seen across America, South America, but could this craft be misrepresented as the witch, but more pod-like, as we're looking at this again, CGI recreation of what the actual video is representing? And this is interesting because that's what it almost looks like, that there's a ET on board piloting this thing. And look, once again, in other locations around the world, guys, this is a very interesting case, and it's hard to debunk. Look at this, a side-by-side comparison. I think it could be the same craft.
It really does
It
look
was
like
mistaken as a witch or some kind of paranormal activity, but this looks like something otherworldly, if you ask me. Again, the gleam of light, you could see something within the craft almost moving around, but then this new photo that has come up from a really cool, artist trying to figure out exactly the design of the craft. And here it is once again. It's very sleek in design. Doc?
Kind of makes me think of Halo, the helmet in Halo in a sense. But it also makes me think, is this, we could see it occupies one individual of some sort. Now, is this a scout ship, or is this maybe an escape pod from a mothership? And he's a little lost. But whatever it is one of the most compelling videos I've seen in a while. It reminds me also of the technology that the Air Force worked on years ago for the single man hovering machines or aircraft. But this is slicker, and I'm just blown away at the zoom that we're able to get this quality. This is what I wish we could get all the time. I know it's not possible, but this is by far my top 5 favorites.
Absolutely incredible video. And thanks for having us here, Doc. And I know you had a podcast today, and we did a little surprise guest show up to it. And let's just take a quick look at that. Say that's a satellite and say this is a UFO and try to convince people. None of that. They're debunking satellites, airplanes, anything they could debunk. They were wanting to, for sure. They were looking for points. We all scattered out in the desert to look around and see if we could see our own thing with our own eyes, with our own small little group anybody's ever seen before. And then again, the testimony is very. We have this emotion that's so raw. People are breaking down, crying because of the experiences.
Want to see these first 2 films and then anticipate the third one. It's going to be, these movies do not do that. What I was mentioning earlier, everything in there is something new. And
so it was great to meet up with Doc Skinner today. And we're looking forward to meeting up with Travis Walton. Thanks to Doc. He made a call to Luke,
And of course, in that circle or in that community, so to speak, they all, get to know each other, right? Names become very well known or whatnot in that circle of folks. But you remember Travis Walton, I believe was his name. There was a movie made, right, about that man. He was like from Oklahoma or something like that. Yeah. Definitely check it out when you get a chance. It surely isn't going to hurt anything, but there was, an abduction essentially that happened many years ago, and he said he was a victim of that. And so, yeah, I encourage anyone to go and check out the story. Listen, at the end of the day, even the abduction scenarios that we hear about are just mind-blowing. And if you ever really want to sit down for like a good hour or 2 and hear some crazy-ish, okay, check out Linda Moulton Howe's Truth Hunters episode. I would say probably episode 3 through like 6. There was only 1 season, but the descriptions that she does is just amazing. Not to mention the fact that not only does she go into great detail about like the anatomy, like the physical anatomy of some of these beings, but she also goes into detail about a what would you call it? I would say almost like an information dump that took place with Ronald Reagan. You ever wonder why sometimes he said some of the things he said, in some of his press conferences? What if there was a existential threat, right? That was external to human beings. Maybe he was aware of something that the rest of the American public was not. I don't know. Of course, we do have some documents in which it is said that this was like a several day like information dump that was given to Ronald Reagan, in which they described basically 5 main species of something not human and their threat towards humans. Apparently, there's even 1 or 2 of these species that are actually quite threatening to humans. And one an insectoid looking type being, right? I mean, there was actual descriptions given of these things. But the main thing is this hybridization with humans that seems to be taking place. Even strange accounts of women coming up pregnant and carrying their babies up to like 3 months. And then all of a sudden, they're not pregnant anymore. And this has happened so much across the world. But a lot of people have also reported or, talked about abductions that they've either, were victims in or witnessed or whatnot. But there's like this hybridization program going on in which they're mixing the human, the human DNA genome, essentially, trying to create their own form of life. And honestly, to me, I feel like it all sort of goes back to the Watchers and the devil, okay, and how the devil and his angels were through from heaven, how they landed, how they all came down on what is it, Mount? I can't remember the name of the mountain over there in Turkey, but Hermod or Herman. Sorry, I'm not a history teacher, but um these angels laid with mankind and thus became the Nephilim. And it really doesn't matter what version of book you read, whether it's the Bible, whether it's an old Sumerian tablet, to some of the other old historical texts. There's been talk about giants since the beginning of time. Not to even belabor the fact that the Smithsonian, and I call them out on this every single opportunity I can, is in possession of several giant skeletons, but for some reason does not admit they're in possession of said giant skeletons. Have no idea why. We're talking about the Smithsonian that is ran by United States tax dollars, by your and I and my tax dollars, okay? There's been reports of giant bodies and skeletons being found even in several mounds here in the United States. So, and we're talking about beings that were 12, 13 feet, 14 feet tall, huge. And it brings me like to the last thing that I'm going to talk about today, which is the giant of Kandahar. Now, I probably could have just did this in its own video because it's such an amazing story, right? I don't know if you guys have heard about this story, but again, what if there is something that's trying to ruin the DNA genome of humans or trying to intercept that, right? And create their own being, right? I mean, if you subscribe to the thought of God and there being a God and God being a creator, imagine if you're like his opposition, like the devil. I mean, I know that's hard to imagine, right? But you would, obviously God can create life, right? I mean, you could even create the grass that grows out in our yards. Um, but there seems to be this constant attempt to infiltrate the human DNA genome. Apparently, the entire DNA genome was also deciphered, from my understanding, and has been documented. Um, but just what if there is a more evil presence out there that, the Nephilim came from, angels, or so, well, I don't know if they were angels, the fallen ones, okay? The fallen ones, or the watchers, laying with women. And even the women that had these children were given a special punishment as well. I mean, if you have ever read the book of Enoch or listened to the book of Enoch, which is mentioned in the Bible several times, but was mysteriously removed from the Bible by the Catholic Church, you will hear some pretty strange things. And when you read you will read some strange things. But needless to say, this Nephilim, or this giant being that was the seed of these fallen ones and these women, um, was just like another attempt of the devil to try to intercept, right, the human DNA, so to speak. Very interesting. But let me tell you about the giant of Kandahar before we get up off of here. Okay. Now, and this happened in recent time. And this is real. And actually, this was talked about years ago. I don't know why, mainstream media really didn't talk about it too much, but I remember when this happened. um this actually happened in Afghanistan, okay? During our war in Afghanistan, there was, my understanding, like 10, 11 um US special forces that went missing, and a very elite tactical team that actually went missing in the middle of Afghanistan. And this was back in 2002. So this would be literally exactly 20 years ago. They said that this figure had 2 sets of teeth, was 13 feet tall, flaming red hair, 6 fingers on each hand and foot. Kind of similar to what we hear, right? Now the killing of this giant, basically what brought attention to this giant was the fact that there was, like I said, an elite tactical force team that just went missing. And there was a group of United States Special Forces that went out to look for these missing soldiers, and then came upon an area that was quite suspicious, including pieces of flesh, pieces of special forces uniforms, that sort of a thing. And anyway, this second group ended up killing this 13-foot giant, which was then was choppered in somewhere in the United States. Well, choppered in to a warship, and then was brought to the United States under an above top secret type of situation, because however, how could the United States government ever admit to the people that giants actually exist, right? I mean, sometimes it's just easier just to let the truth be the truth, right? Just let it go. These people want to control everything that comes in our ears, and it's just crazy. But this took place during the height of Operation Enduring Freedom back in 2002, when the military was engaged in fierce battles with the Taliban in their de facto capital in Kandahar province during the United States invasion of Afghanistan. But this was not a human at all. They call it the Kandahar Giant. Fiery red hair, 13 feet tall, 6 fingers, 2 sets of teeth. It even killed one of the special forces soldiers that was in the second group with a spear before the rest of that particular unit brought it down with 30 seconds of sustained gunfire from their AK-47s. After they radioed it in, the army came, like I said, took away its corpse, and it has been hidden away ever since. So, some of that backstory, like I was saying, is there was a group of soldiers that went missing while on patrol in this remote mountainous region. This is, by the way, in the south of Afghanistan. And when they failed to make radio contact for some time, the military, that's when they sent in the special ops unit to investigate. However, the branch of armed forces to which that second special ops unit belonged to was never confirmed. I'm pretty sure everything associated to that operation became highly classified. But high up in the mountains, this unit came across a cave with scattered army equipment around, but no sign of the missing soldiers. And that's when they came upon that Kandahar Giant. Now, of course, tales grow with telling. That's why they call them tall tales. But some reports, and this literally goes back to when this happened, because I remember when this happened. This actually, I think, made it on one solid mainstream media news site at the time, but it wasn't major. But it was definitely talk. And it was so unreal. A lot of people just dismissed it. They said he had on, like I said, 13 to 15 foot tall humanoid, flaming red hair, 6 digits. He had on leather moccasins. They said he stunk so bad that he smelled like dead bodies, like a slew of dead bodies. That he emerged from this cave and, like I said, impaled one of these soldiers with an actual spear and killed that soldier. And that's when, like I said, 30 seconds of continuous fire, full auto. They said the squad was armed with full auto M4 carbines, recon carbines, semi-automatic, and M107 Barrett anti-material rifles, firing 50 BMG. This much firepower concentrated on one target for 1 second, let alone 30, would be extremely destructive. After the troops killed the giant, they loaded it onto a Chinook helicopter. This carried it to a transport plane where no one ever saw the body again. The soldiers were forced to sign non-disclosure agreements so that the government could keep them all quiet. Eventually, the soldiers broke their silence because, as one of the men would later say, the people have a right to know the truth. And don't people have a right to know who died that day by this Kandahar Giant? Not only the group of soldiers that went missing, but the one that was impaled, right? Of course, Snopes reaches out to the Department of Defense and asks them and says, hey, got any record of information about a special forces member being killed by a giant in Kandahar, Afghanistan? They did not admit this. Just like they've never admitted that they have the body of Gilgamesh, right? We've talked about that before. But I think there are times when things that just can't be explained, um, they would rather just ignore, or whatnot. But I just think that it's something that people have a right to know. And it does point back to a biblical prophetic narrative. The fall of the rebel angels, right? There is an interview that was done with one of these soldiers. I wonder if I could find that. I'd have to look for it though. But the name of this soldier, the name he was going by was just Mr. K. And he did claim that he saw this giant carrying a spear and murdering that United States soldier named Dan before he and the other special forces unit took it down. He helped kill this thing. The creature was a Nephilim, a group of people mentioned in Genesis and Numbers, the books of the Old Testament, who are said to have been people of unusually large size and strength. They were found in the Middle East both before the flood and some say after the flood. Although there is discussion about why the flood even happened in the first place, was, to almost like rid the earth of these Nephilim, which, I mean, there's all sorts of stories in the Bible about giants, right? But, to hear and read all of those stories, okay, that took place in the Bible, to hear people like try to like dismiss them, it's like, just move around. Well, here's just another interesting fact, and you take it for what you want, but there is a Dan. There's only one Dan that died in Kandahar around the time of this alleged incident back in 2002. And that was Sergeant First Class Daniel A. Romero. However, his death is listed as being killed in a bomb blast alongside 3 other soldiers. And that is the story of the Kandahar giant. It's a very interesting story, to say the least. And you can do a little research, and you'll definitely find some things. But the only description that I know I was able to find was a drawing that was that. Let me see if I can find it actually. That was done sort of like after the fact to kind of show what the soldiers witnessed, because of course they refer to it as a cryptid, right? Let's see if I can find that photo, because it's pretty interesting photo, to say the least. Yeah, here it is. This was a drawing that was done, okay? The story also, too, honestly, the bulk of the actual story has actually never changed. So essentially, this huge being speared one of these soldiers in a manner, okay, that killed him. But like I said, they were able to, or managed to kill this being, got it to the Chinook helicopter, and it was never seen again. I suspect it's probably in the United States somewhere under some lock and key, under some really highly, highly classified. The records are probably highly classified, the whole shebang. But the thing was like they said up to 15 feet tall. This was a drawing of this red-haired giant. And especially if it kills, right, a special forces member, we deserve especially to know. Don't you think? Because the only other, method you're going to have is to lie in the records of how that soldier would have died. And even villagers that lived near this area talked about this giant and knew that these, there was a family of giants apparently that had lived around that particular area that was known to villagers in that area. So I don't know. But if it's true, that means that United States officials intentionally misled the world about what really happened. Not only to soldiers that risked their lives to go into battle, they don't deserve to have their deaths lied upon, you know? That's all I'm saying. But I just find it real interesting that there was an actual Dan Romero. They said there was also 2 skeletons like found in the area. I don't know, guys. Just check the story out when you get a chance. It's a very interesting story. Overall, like I said, the bulk of that story has not changed. And it, it may change over time, but the actual like details have been the same every time I've heard it. So there you go. Another strange way to bring your Sunday night together. So I'm about to get up out of here, guys. Much love, everybody. Happy Mother's Day early to everybody. I don't know why I was thinking it was today. I forgot it's the second Sunday of anyway. I mistakenly thought it was today. But y'all, I'm out of here. Until next time, guys. Have a great rest of your week, everybody.